All right, we have a show for you today. This is a legal discussion. Politics might be a little involved, but our goal is to really break down the legal issues surrounding a high-profile ICE shooting in Minnesota.
Minnesota. Minneapolis, I believe.
I get the minis always confused.
Yeah.
But it happened last week. I didn't want to watch it, but I wanted also to know what happened, and so I did watch it. And let me just stop there. So we get many cases involving bad things that happen to people that results in their death.
We actually had a case that involved a shooting.
Well, many.
Yeah.
And so as lawyers, first of all, we have to look at it. I've asked family members not to look at those things, but sometimes they just can't help themselves. Once you see it, you can never unsee it. And so, like Kristen and I have talked about the fact that we walk around having seen all of that. And we put it away. We're compartmentalized to put enough away. But if you bring that down to revisit it, it's overwhelming. I can go back decades in my career and see the incidents. I can replay them. I can tell you graphically where things were. And so it's kind of like almost like we are medical examiners in that regard, right? Where we're watching it not for self-gratification or because we want to, or even because we're scared to. We watch it, in our case, because it's part of our job.
Because we have to.
Yes.
That's our job.
So when I decided whether to watch this shooting, I didn't want to as a person. I didn't feel I had to. And yet I felt that as a citizen, that and that because there would be a lot of discourse, I probably should. But even then I didn't want to. What dropped me over the line was that as a lawyer, I knew that people would be asking me, was this a justified shooting? If it's not a justified shooting, why isn't prosecution being accomplished? Will this be and was this murder? Was it self-defense? Was it something in between? What was it? And should there be a result of any kind of prosecution or civil action or anything as a result? So those are the questions that went through my mind when I watched it. And those are the questions that we're going to be talking about today. So Mo, you're going to start us off by talking about the incident.
Okay, this is the basic sequence of the facts. Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old Minneapolis resident, was fatally shot by an Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent during a Department of Homeland Security operation in Minneapolis during the day. The shooting occurred while Miss Good was in her SUV near an ICE arrest scene where she was reportedly observing and protesting the operation. So there's video. And the video shows ICE agents surrounding her vehicle, shouting commands. And then Miss Good's SUV begins to move as an agent is situated right outside the driver's side. And the video shows that the vehicle strikes the agent.
The vehicle's turning.
Yes, let me finish. Strikes the agent as the vehicle is turning right,
All right,
trying to move away from the agents. And at that point, the agent fired 3 shots.
Well, wait
through
a minute.
the windshield.
You're supposed to be giving us facts.
These are the facts.
You said that she was turning right, trying to get away. Where did that fact come from?
You can see in the video that she's turning the steering wheel right away from the agents and trying to move away from them. Because there's nobody else to the right. It's just going out. She's not going towards another person.
But how does the car hit the agent?
Because the agent is situated to the left corner of the vehicle, and as the car is turning right, it doesn't hit him like significantly, but it bumps him. And then what happens is that the agent then pulls out, has a firearm out, and he discharges 3 rounds through the windshield at close range.
So did
And
her
then
vehicle actually touch the agent?
Yes, and then it shot through and it shot her. They were headshots, and so the car continues to move, comes to a rest. The airbag has deployed, and she dies at the scene.
And is aid rendered?
I don't know. I didn't see that in the
Okay,
video.
the answer is that there was a medical doctor on the scene who asked to access the victim and was told no.
Okay. But this is based on the video I observed of like what you can see happening actually on the video.
All right.
And I wanted to ask too, since I haven't seen what sounds like the video you watched, is the officer's on the ground, pulls his gun and then shoots, or does he have his gun out when he gets hit?
He has his gun out.
Okay.
And so there are two videos.
Yeah, I've seen the video that was from his
Yeah.
personal video, the cam.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen any of the other videos that weren't from his perspective.
There is another video that is away from him looking towards him.
Okay.
And then there's his video.
Yeah, because I could see that he was falling back.
Yeah.
And you could hear the gunshots, but you can't see the gun in that video. And I once he was down, then you can't really see anything.
Did he
for a
fall
little
down?
while. Yeah, or at least it looks like he did
Okay.
from his perspective.
Yeah.
Because the camera shoots straight up for a little
Yeah,
while.
you clearly see that the car contacted the officer.
Okay.
So
Can you see? I know that I've read that people said that he had his foot run over. Can you see if the vehicle ran over his foot?
based on my view of the video, I can't see his foot got run over, but I see the vehicle.
But you could see that it hit him and he bounced off.
Yeah, objectively, that the car came into contact with the officer.
Did the
Yes.
officer, was he stationary the whole time? Did he move towards the car? Why did the car come into contact with the officer?
Well, the car came into contact with the officer because the two reasons. One, the officer was situated in front of the car, and two, the car proceeded to contact the officer. So he took a position in front of the car, and they had directed a command for them to get out of the car, and they did not comply with the command. The passenger in the vehicle was outside and protesting and videotaping.
drive.
And gave commands.
in.
Yeah, passenger gets into the car, gives commands to the driver to drive the vehicle. The officer is giving commands to get out of the vehicle, and so then the commands are not followed. The vehicle drives away, bumps into the officer, and the officer then decides to use deadly force.
Okay, so let's start. I have some legal questions now.
Okay, what
Let's
are
start
the
at
questions?
Number one, you said the ICE person is an officer.
Yes,
But that's not a police officer.
it's a law enforcement agent.
Okay. Does the ICE officer have the authority to direct a civilian to get out of their car?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because he is in the process of effectuating his law enforcement duties. And so part of those duties is that he's been commanded by the executive to go effectuate arrests for purposes of immigration purposes. And if anybody interferes with his ability to do that, he has the right to seize that person and arrest them for interfering with an investigation.
How were they interfering?
By boxing in the vehicles, the ICE agents' vehicles. So what was happening was that people who disagree with the executive's initiatives to have that ICE is proceeding to arrest people are using their vehicles to stop ICE agents from going into communities and arresting people.
Is civil disobedience in the U.S. usually cleared for violent response?
Historically,
Okay.
I mean, facts are, yeah. I mean, civil disobedience.
So it's okay for
that's a
an
different
ICE
question.
agent. No.
That's a
It's okay in the society right now for ICE agents to shoot people for doing nonviolent protesting.
No, the law does not allow an officer to use deadly force unless very specific circumstances are present.
So then why do the officers have their guns drawn?
I think objectively, whenever you're in a situation, this is just objectively based on my understanding of having dealt with multiple cases. Police officers, when they're surrounded, one of the biggest things that they're trained to deal with is ambush. Okay, so they're taught in training from the academy on that whenever you're at a scene, is you have to secure a scene. The reason why you want to secure a scene is that you want to stop any blind spots, anything, because it's not only for your safety, but the safety of other officers and other people at the scene. So as a general matter, if you feel that a scene is escalating and that force may likely be used, at that point, most officers will draw out their firearms to be at ready position to respond to force.
So you're saying that those two women in their car, their motionless car, were such a grave threat to, I don't even know how many ICE officers were there, but there were multiple officers there.
Yeah, there were multiple officers.
That warrants a violent response.
Well, that's a separate question. I don't think the objective facts support the use of deadly force under the circumstances, but that's totally different inquiry.
So going back to the beginning.
Yeah.
So you are a good neighbor. You go out to protest.
Yeah.
It's a form of protest because it's not like
It's civil
demonstration.
disobedience at that
Yeah.
point.
You
Yeah.
go out
Yeah.
and you are in your vehicle and there's ICE agents near you and they have guns. And so what are you supposed to do as a person that's trying to help other people? Should she just never have gone there?
Boy, that's a tough question. I mean, are you asking me my personal opinion, or are you asking me like objectively, legally?
Well, just for all the people that are thinking, I want to go out and I don't want my neighbor
Okay,
to be
so-
taken. I'm going to go out there. Am I going to be killed by an ICE agent? So is that the risk that we're now looking at? Is we can go do civil disobedience, but we're going to risk being shot and killed by an ICE agent.
I mean, that's been a danger here in the U.S. for as long as I can remember. I mean,
But
you know.
it's really a danger because it's happening.
No, I know, but it happened in Kent State. It's happened.
Yeah.
I mean, it's happened in multiple situations where there was protesting, and every single time the government is cleared of all findings. So I assume that it's going to continue, and I assume that anyone that wants to protest should be prepared to die.
I think
These days.
I think that's fair. I think that
That's not fair.
I think that's
I'm
a
not
fair-
saying it's
I'm not
fair.
saying that's
I'm not saying it's fair.
Well, I'm saying
I'm
a
saying
fair-
Use your
that's
language.
reality.
Language.
Okay, wait.
Will.
Okay, I'm saying that's a fair assessment that Mike is making. That like in this day and age, tensions are. If you're going to protest, there is a risk that you will die.
There's a higher risk now than there's ever been in my opinion.
There's a risk that you're going to get shot, or you're going to have force used against you.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
let's,
we just
let's
did
just
a.
pause.
we-
Let's just pause. Let's just pause on this moment.
Okay. Yeah.
Because this
I
has
said you guys are going to
changed.
crank me up with this one.
This has changed in our lifetime
Oh yeah, it has.
because Kent State was an aberration.
Yeah,
right?
when I was a
Tell
kid,
them.
they used that as an example why you should protest.
Yeah. So here we are now in 2026 being told by lawyers, yes, feel free to protest and know that you may die.
Yep.
Yeah. And so like. Okay.
That is so. Let's back up even farther because this
Okay.
is a legal podcast.
Yes.
How can we possibly have a First Amendment if that's the truth?
Well, I would say that the entire Constitution is being tested more in our society right now than it ever has been, and I think that I mean, let's not forget. It's easy to look at liberal protesters, but you can also say the same thing happened to Ashley Babbitt on January 6th.
Yes. When she was trying to
she
climb
was
into
she
the
was
Congress.
shot in what she believed was an act of protest against
Yeah.
the government at that time. And I disagree with what they were doing, but I always say that they had the right to protest until they broke in and started breaking stuff.
Okay, so Mike is pointing out something very important. So Ashley Babbitt was also killed by law enforcement while she was on property, government property, congressional halls, protesting the election. Miss Good was also protesting what she perceived to
But
be
the government,
wait,
the
let me
government paid Babbitt.
No.
Yes, they did.
No, they did not.
The family? I don't
Yes,
know.
they did.
Oh, you mean in a settlement, in a lawsuit?
They
settlement.
did.
Okay, but that's a post event that I think is a separate inquiry. What we're talking about is that you're saying that you cannot like express your First Amendment beliefs without risking your life. I think that's accurate. I think that when I say accurate, I got to qualify because you do not have a First Amendment right to obstruct legitimate law enforcement investigations. You do not have a First Amendment right to trespass onto government property and break through windows and do things like that. Your First Amendment rights are forfeited at that point. But you have another amendment, and that amendment is called the Fourth Amendment. And it says that you cannot have force used against you that is unreasonable and excessive. So what happened to Ashley Babbitt and what happened to Ms. Good
Are a little different.
Are a little bit different, but my assessment is that their Fourth Amendment rights were violated. You cannot use deadly force.
Okay,
See,
well,
I would argue that isn't the case in Ashley Babbitt's case because there were, thousands of people that were rushing into the building and that were trying to break in, and those guys were afraid for their lives.
Well,
those officers or security agents, I don't know what they were inside the building.
In that situation, when you're talking about thousands of people, when you use deadly force, you have to make an individualized assessment.
Well, he did because she was trying to crawl through that window.
Yeah, but looking at her size and her ability and what was she really going to do? Was she really going to go in there and use deadly force against somebody who was in Congress? She had no way.
Hey, you don't know.
Hey, you are being,
Yeah.
I'm
Let
being
me tell you, Mo, if there's 100 people at a door like that and they're trying to come in, I'd shoot.
Well, all I know is that
you got to put your male stuff away.
male stuff.
None of this Neanderthal stuff.
What do you mean Neanderthal?
Women can be deadly even if they're small.
It's not just, you're trying to say it's an individual, but that was a mob, and you cannot say that they weren't afraid of the mob.
Okay, Mike. Okay, Mike. Karen.
That's
okay.
true.
All I'm telling you.
This is not a mob situation.
Okay.
The Renee Good situation is two people.
I can't believe this. If the law says you have to make an individualized assessment to use deadly force.
You're
okay?
sounding very lawyer-like.
Because you're asking me to be the lawyer and give you the neutral facts and be the lawyers.
I do want you to be lawyer-like, but I also want you to be a little biased in favor of.
I am not going to be biased on this.
Don't be biased.
Okay.
I don't want you.
It's good. Okay.
I just think that like the construct of deadly force, the problem with what happened is that these are untrained people. The guy. You are trained by the Department of Homeland Security. The Department of Justice trains you that you use deadly force as a last resort. It's textbook. You have to use all reasonable alternatives before discharging that weapon.
Hold on then. I didn't see them use any. In the Renee Good case, they did not do what you just said.
I know. I'm saying that the deadly force in that case was unreasonable.
Now, in the other case, I will continue to argue that if you've got a mob coming at you, you cannot say that they were only paying attention to one individual and that an ICE agent would have done anything different.
All I know is that a lot of people went into Congress, okay? And those that got in were walking around acting like idiots. But those that met force with police officers engaged in combat ended up hurting a lot of the officers. There was more justification to use deadly force when those officers were getting
I know, that's my point.
Okay, but guess what? Those officers did not use deadly force. The reason why they didn't is because they understand, based on their training, that deadly force is really the last option. And so even the ones that were being physically assaulted, and the officers could have legitimately justified opening fire on that entire crowd, used restraint. This guy with Miss Good was just, not only did he just bump her, she bumped him a little bit, he shot 3 shots into the into the driver's seat.
By the way, she was not driving like on a highway.
No.
She was doing like a parking lot
No,
maneuver.
she was turning her car around.
But
So when we talk about bumping, we really mean bumping.
no, she was going maybe 2 to 3 miles an hour when the car bumped him.
But the training is so important.
I
because
can run
that's,
faster than 2 miles.
I mean, that's a guess. That's a guess. I'm not an expert.
The training is so important. When you shoot 3 times into a car, knowing there is a passenger there, you have to understand that.
Oh, that officer was going to hit for sure, no matter what.
Well,
it's automatic training.
But the firearm, you don't know if your bullet's not going to go through her and hit the passenger. You don't know if you're going to miss.
Oh, he
and
didn't
hit
care. They
somebody.
were both guilty in his eyes.
And so to me, I just think that like this is.
As a matter of fact, I'd argue that they wanted them both to be dead.
Okay, well,
Okay.
let me just say this.
Yeah, that's
So,
the civil issue, but the criminal issue is different.
Melanie in our office had a case against the city of Seattle that resolved last year where there was somebody they were chasing.
I think it was another county, not city. Yeah,
Oh,
but I know which
sorry,
one you're talking
not
about.
county. Sorry, Seattle. For once, it's not you. Different county, and they're chasing this guy, and they put down rumble strips and stuff. I think he was intoxicated or under the influence.
Yeah.
And his car kind of wiggled or wobbled as he was, and they claimed also that it was that because he was driving his car, it was deadly that it was a dangerous weapon, and they could use deadly force on him, and they also shot through the car and killed him, even though he never struck anybody, and from the pathways that Melanie and her team looked at it, there was no way he was going to strike anybody. And that jurisdiction settled that case for several $1 million. Well, because that should not happen. And he was well known in that community for just being someone that shouldn't be drinking and driving, but a very peaceful fella. So the decisions here go so far back. Like, what is their training? Just even police training isn't good enough, in my opinion, to be running around with guns, because they're taught to shoot and kill. They're taught to shoot at the main mass.
There's no law enforcement or military agency that is not taught to shoot to kill.
Shoot to kill. And the trainings that we've seen always has all these scenarios that result in an officer dying, right? Like maybe someone has a kitchen knife in their hand and they're going to kill the officer, whereas normally...
Well, we had another case like that.
Yes, we do. But we've seen all the trainings. Yeah. Every scenario is like, oh, they're going to kill you if you don't kill them first. You got to kill them before they kill you. So they're taught to shoot to kill. So some of the comments I'd seen were, why didn't he just take out a tire? Why didn't he...
Well, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not even that they're taught to shoot to kill. At that point, he was just doing what was the motor skills that he has trained into himself, and he was going to hit her in the head or the torso.
That is taught to be your habit.
Yeah.
So if you're teaching the habit of shooting to kill,
yeah,
which all of them do, then you're going to get these results.
You're going to get results when you have an officer not follow his training. And that's what this officer did not do. He didn't follow his training. You cannot assert we're
Let
talking.
me ask a question about that. When he saw the vehicle moving, because a vehicle was moving as slow as molasses, when he saw it moving, what should he have done?
A reasonable officer would have moved out of the way.
And how it would have taken him one step.
One step. But I'm going to go even a step further. A reasonable officer who got struck in the manner that he got struck would not have discharged his firearm. Even if intentional, would not have shot his firearm in that way. This is precisely why you both say, you watch, every training says, when you use force, you don't use it to injure, you use it to...
Yeah, once you put your finger on the trigger, you're going to be shooting someone.
You put your finger, but when you make the training says, when you decide to use the firearm, discharge, use deadly force, that's the term. Once you discharge a firearm, the training says that's deadly force, not injure force.
No, yeah.
Not less than deadly force. When you use the firearm, at that moment, it has to be last resort. That's why the training about most alternative measures have to be exhausted. The other thing is you cannot put yourself in a position of danger, then claim that I had to use deadly force.
Yeah.
Okay, that's also in the training.
Which is he did In my
Okay,
opinion.
so objectively, the question is, if you watch the video, did he kind of like move himself
Did
in
he
front of
move
the car?
towards?
Did he
Yeah.
position himself? Now, this is just civil. This is not criminal. That's super important. His intentions are irrelevant. The question is, would a reasonably well-trained officer, under the circumstances, use deadly force? The question is unequivocally no. So the civil case goes ahead. Now, like him criminally being held responsible is completely a different
Wait
matter.
a minute. The civil case does not go ahead because of qualified immunity.
There is qualified immunity, but
What is qualified immunity?
well, immunity is that you're immune from suit.
The king cannot be sued.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
But there's a qualification to that immunity for law enforcement agents that if the officer was not on notice at the time, that it wasn't clearly established to him that using deadly force in the way in which he did at that scene was not a violation of the Fourth Amendment, he enjoys immunity. But he's going to lose that because the case law has been around for 40 years.
But he's going to claim that the car was a dangerous weapon.
It doesn't matter what he claims. His subjective intent is irrelevant.
But a car is a dangerous weapon.
It is, but objectively, the manner in which the car was driven, moved, his movements and response to it demonstrate that that's really a question for the jury. So he's not going to enjoy qualified immunity on that.
How is a jury going to have a question if this is a Federal Tort Claims Act and only the judge is going to rule?
Well, the same standard under Federal Tort Claims Act is going to apply, which is he's going to say I was immune from shooting. But if it's a federal case, it's going to be a juror. It's going to be a judge because it's going to be filed in federal
Correct.
court.
So there's no jury. It has to be filed in the FTCA.
Yeah.
They're going to claim immunity. You think any attorney's going to take this case?
I would.
Yeah, but do you think they're going to win?
I will. Man, give me that case because you know what? Oh, I got some good ideas about that case.
I mean, you're going to have the whole entire Trump, vessel funding the other side.
Yeah, but come on, Karen. That sounds like every trial lawyer would be freaking drooling at that.
So I'm going to be a little devil's advocate here because,
Let's go.
I did watch.
Let's go.
I've watched and read enough to hear a lot of people saying, it's immunity. There's immunity. There's no civil case. It's never. Okay, so the answer here is don't count on that. If they get the right lawyer, this can proceed until it can't proceed. There's no use not trying. Then we go to the second issue, which is there a criminal case here?
Ooh-ha.
All right, come on.
That's going to be Mo's. That's an answer for Mo.
Let me tell you question number one, first of all, okay? Where's the jurisdiction?
Well,
Is it in the state or is it federal?
both.
If it's federal, don't you lose because the U.S. attorney will not prosecute this case?
Okay, so what generally happens when the state charges a federal agent,
Which hasn't happened yet.
which hasn't happened yet, with a crime, the state has jurisdiction. It has what you call sovereignty to be able to bring offenses, crimes committed against its citizens, against anybody. So the state has jurisdiction to charge them with a crime. But there's this thing called the Supremacy Clause, which says that, the U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Under the Supremacy Clause, federal agents can move to be held immune from criminal prosecutions. The process is that once he gets charged in whatever the county is in Minneapolis for a crime, he would move to have himself removed from state court to federal court. The question then becomes the same question for the civil issue. Is he entitled to immunity? And the judge would have to assess whether or not objectively he was reasonable in using deadly force, and that the deadly force, the term is proper and necessary, under the circumstances to discharge his duties. If that finding is made, then he is immune from criminal prosecution.
And this is the state court judge that's making that decision?
No, a federal judge.
The federal judge makes that decision. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. getting to the bottom line, is
Bottom
he
line.
going to be prosecuted?
Well, what I've heard is that they're investigating, but what happened was the FBI immediately took over the investigation. So the fact collectors are is a federal agency. And then so they're going to collect the facts. Now, I got to say, there is some information out there, make sure it's verified or not, that he had previously in one of these protests been dragged like some feet because a car snatched onto him and dragged him, and it was he was either seriously injured or faced serious injury. So the difference between the criminal and civil is super important, because in civil it doesn't matter what he thinks.
All right, I'm
In
going
criminal, it
Wait,
does.
wait.
to direct
just
you
a-
to answer the question. I want you to answer
let me
the
just
question.
ask him the
Okay.
one question.
Yeah.
Why does it matter whether or not he got dragged by a car before?
I think it matters because if you're going to ask why he acted the way he did under the circumstances, and because you're focused on his subjective criminal intent, if that's the focus, he gets to say, I didn't have a criminal intent. I miscalculated. I made a mistake. I was scared. I didn't realize what was happening. I overreacted.
So he gets qualified immunity because
No,
he.
that's just like
That's just another excuse in my mind.
That's just like a defense to any murder.
Yeah,
Somebody
exactly.
says I didn't intend to kill somebody. He
Yeah,
gets the
if
same.
I'm
defenses.
holding a gun on you and I fall down and it discharges and you die, I still murdered you.
Yeah, but then there's a degree of fault: accidental, negligent, reckless.
I was still holding it with the intent to shoot you before I fell down.
I mean, these are questions for the jury.
Okay.
There's no jury.
Back to Karen's.
Yeah, what was your point?
Is he going to be criminally prosecuted or not? That would be no, folks. He is not. He's going to walk.
I think
That means.
I'm going to tell you. Let me.
Okay.
Let him answer.
All right. I thought you did.
I think that I think they're going to charge him criminally in state court, and I think it's going to go. They're going to charge him in the county in Minneapolis, and what's going to happen? It's going to get removed to federal court, and then what's going to end up happening is going to be a big fight between state politics and federal politics over the killing of a Minnesota citizen. That's what I think the fight's going to be.
Who's going to win it?
Ooh, it's going to be.
I'm going to say nobody's going to win it because this argument is going to continue for another couple of years, whether or not the cases get resolved before then, and I don't think they will. So it's going to really matter on who gets elected next.
That's unfortunate because you wish and you hope that elections don't decide how the law gets applied, but that's unfortunately the reality we live in. Ultimately, I think that the case should proceed civilly, and the family's clearly entitled to relief
Well, let's
under
talk
civil
about
law.
let's talk about that. So, we often face this issue. Like the criminal case is not going to go forward.
Yeah,
We have a case right now we're looking
that's
at.
right. That's right.
No criminal case. 3 years ago, guy was shot and killed. Still no criminal charges. So civil's a possibility, right? Civil may be the only possibility. So let's say that they find a lawyer who will take this case, which all lawyers will take it. The question is whether the case will be won by those lawyers. Lawyer takes a case. Can they sue the shooter?
Absolutely.
What happens when you sue a shooter who has criminal charges pending? Maybe or maybe not.
Well, I mean, the shooter has Fifth Amendment protections, so he can't.
What
give
happens
you
to the
discovery.
case?
Oh, they stay the case.
What's a stay?
A stay is a request to stop the case temporarily until something else is addressed.
It's a big roadblock.
Yeah, because then it just sits there until the criminal case is resolved, which can be years.
Yep.
And then all the evidence has gotten really old. All the people have forgotten a little bit of what happened. And
Well, luckily it's all
so on and so
preserved on video.
It is, but it makes the case more difficult. I would say.
Everything slows down when there's a criminal and a civil case together. That's reality.
But I also think that a criminal prosecution should always take priority over a civil case.
Sure, but so in the old days, not that old, the advice used to be let the criminal procedure play out and then bring the civil case. The problem is they take forever. Sometimes those criminal cases now take years. You cannot wait because everything is stale and old.
Oh, yeah.
So very commonly we will file right away. They will stay the case but normally only against that defendant's discovery. Everything else can continue.
So the only thing you need, they keep from you.
Or maybe we don't need it.
Well,
Or maybe
No.
you don't know. You're not going to know until you
Yeah.
get it.
Because unfortunately, some lawyers will just sort of like sit idly by and say, oh, right, there's a criminal case. Let's stop everything. Let's stay. And I don't know. Well, our practice is that if somebody tries to stay a case, we go, okay, be very specific about why you want to stay the case. And they'll say, well, my guy faces Fifth Amendment risk, and he might be, okay, great. Then don't have him be deposed. We're still going to do our job with every other aspect of the case. So we'll keep pushing the case forward in every other respect, and then just wait and then depose him last.
Half of the judges will stay the case and half of them won't, which really is irritating because I don't know why they have to stay the case. You know, if you want to take your Fifth Amendment, go take your Fifth Amendment. I don't care.
Isn't it just a delaying tactic, really?
Well, delay, deny, defend.
No, well, okay. All right. I'm going to have to push back a little. Delay, deny, defend. If you're criminally exposed, that means your liberty is going to be deprived.
This is his public defender.
It's not a
now.
pro-public defender. It's just like pure, like, it's your rights. Like, if you're facing that your
I'm
liberty...
not saying that it's not his rights. I'm saying that they are using his rights as a delaying tactic in the case, often on purpose, because they want to have more time to decide what they're going to do.
It's true.
What? No, you need more. He's not doing anything, or she's not doing. Whoever's being charged.
No, the attorneys.
Their lawyers.
That's
need,
what I'm talking.
But they need to effectively defend him. They need to investigate. They need to hire experts. They need to go see what the evidence is. That can't happen overnight.
Okay, so stop.
Okay.
So my
But
understanding.
can that happen? Can that absolutely have to take years to happen?
I don't think it needs to take years.
I mean, because I can't remember the name of it, but there was a case that I followed for a long time where a older gentleman and his wife were in a movie theater, and they got in a fight with another guy, and the old gentleman shot him. That case took I want to say at least 10 years before it was resolved,
That's
and it was
ridiculous.
all
That's- yeah,
delaying
that's-
tactics by the
Okay,
defendant's lawyer.
that's 10 years is too long. A case like this, I'm going to focus on the good case. And that case, if it's charged tomorrow, should be going to trial at a minimum within 18 months. That is not a complicated case, okay? So the guy's not going to be going into custody. He's going to be out and free. And the family's entitled to have a quick resolution of whether or not the criminal accusation is upheld or not.
Let's be clear. The family is a 6-year-old child.
And a spouse.
Oh, was married.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And a spouse.
Was that
Who
the
was next
passenger?
to who was next to her wife when
died,
she was killed.
She was in the passenger seat.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
2. So spouse and child.
Yeah, yeah. And the community. By the way, when people are killed, the criminal action is on behalf of the people. It's not just the family lost, the community lost someone. The community is prosecuting the case. That's why they say the people versus whoever the defendant is, or the state versus whoever the defendant is.
All right, so postscript. What should happen here?
I think that the family should get a civil lawyer. I think that the family should immediately file a lawsuit. There's enough facts on that video, okay, to be able to swear off a complaint and draft it and start the process.
And it would be for a civil rights violation under Article 4.
Article 4, you mean the Fourth Amendment?
Fourth Amendment.
Well, it's a Federal Tort Claims Act case, so it would be for excessive force under the Federal Tort Claims
It would
Act.
have to be filed in federal court,
It would have to be filed in federal court.
which in Minneapolis is which district?
District of Minnesota, one district, the entire state. And then I would start that right now and start to put pressure, and I would be immediately trying to figure out what kind of training he received. And if he's received the training that I know every federal law enforcement agent has received, there are 2 direct violations that can clearly be identified. One was that he had alternative means of responding to what was happening that fell well short of deadly force. They're regularly trained on that. And the second is he put himself in a position where he's now trying to justify to use deadly force.
That he had already been in.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
That he had already experienced and now was doing the same thing.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, that seems a little weird.
And then
to me.
I would also highlight the fact that in the complaint that after he shot her, he made the following comment. Pardon my French. He said, "Fucking bitch," and that's
What?
captured on the audio.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so to me,
He did it on purpose.
I think that I would lead heavy on that on the civil case. I would seek the training, and then I would be like, this is not an objectively reasonable officer. I know a lot of police officers who would not behave this way.
I would
One,
hope
use
so.
force like this, but two, speak like that after shooting somebody in the face 3 times.
Well, first of all, the family is obviously in shock and in mourning and trying to figure out what to do. And this is probably the last thing that they want to do. And we've talked about that before. Like, it's a lot to have to go through making a decision to contact the lawyer and get relief. But in a case like this, where unfortunately millions of people saw a woman executed on the streets of Minnesota, Minneapolis, like, if a lawsuit isn't brought, then the
But-
legacy from that shooting is that people, what, Mike, you end this.
Well, I was going to say, but in our current political climate, I think it's very possible that it's not going to be, that none of this is going to happen.
None of what's going to happen.
That nothing's going to happen on the criminal side, and that
Nothing's gonna
it's going to
happen.
crush the civil side because of that. They'll still try, but I don't think the civil side's going to.
So
either.
basically, if your only chance is a civil lawsuit for anything, if you don't take that chance, then all hope is died.
Yeah, but I mean, look at it from the layman's view. We've got the FBI is led by someone who is woefully inexperienced for the job, and is going to be the agency that's in charge of investigating. Then we've got a Department of Justice who I believe didn't a bunch of people just quit because of this case?
Well,
I don't know.
It's had a huge turnover. The Department of Justice has had a huge turnover. But, we don't want to just make this a political issue.
I'm not trying to. I'm just saying that the politics do play into it, and I believe
does.
the politics are going to be the reason that nothing happens.
Well, I just to Mike's point, politics exist everywhere, okay? But if you have objective, dispassionate prosecutors and lawyers who are, in my experience, have historically been in offices like at the U.S. Attorney's Office or at prosecutor's office, if you have dispassionate people and look at the facts, there is evidence here. And you just follow the evidence. And the evidence leads to, one, an action being filed civilly, and an action maybe being filed, based on the discharge of the firearm for other purposes.
Okay, we're going to have a bet. Who in this room thinks that he's going to be criminally charged and it's going to stick? That would be
That moment of
zero.
silence was what I was waiting
That would
for.
be zero.
Wait, no. I
There
think
is no
I think
way-
I need more evidence, but I think that if we're looking just purely at what I
I
observed,
believe that Minnesota would charge him.
I think he's going to get charged.
But that would be thrown out.
Yeah, I don't think it's
That
going to
would
go.
be
in.
preemptive.
okay, so that yeah.
He has to be actually
It's
convicted.
yeah, prosecute is what we're talking about.
It has
not
to stick.
charged. And that's where we get into the politics thing. Like, both sides of the political spectrum right now are exploiting this and are going to continue doing this until people stop talking about it. And I think that because of that, the state politicians in Minnesota are going to push for him to be prosecuted. They probably will charge him, but it's like you said, it's going to be up to the federal.
be
And right
preemptive.
now, the federal deck is against all of us.
I think that the only chance is a civil opportunity to have any kind of airing, and that might not be successful, but at least it's worth a shot.
Yeah, I hope that happens. I hope that it continues. But at that point, then it's really just a political action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have to see.
Well, this was a hopeless conversation.
No, it wasn't.
It was good.
It was informative.
It was not happy, but it was
It
good.
was not happy.
look, we got to have faith in the law.
It's not a happy thing. I mean, you were talking about, to go back, you were talking about how you've had to look at stuff, and I've had to look at stuff that was horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible, that is burned in my brain, and anytime I think
Sorry.
about it, it's always there.
Yeah.
When I watch this video, I'm so numb to it now that it was almost like I could see someone getting shot and not feel it at all. And it really disgusted me when I saw that.
Yeah.
And that's part of where everything's been going with our society over the last 20 years of me working here.
Yeah.
It's a horrifying incident. It's terrible.
Well,
And to have your loved one shot down and right next to you,
yeah.
and shot down like that, you know, I just, you know, I use this word really sparingly. But when somebody shoots a firearm in a car like that, I would have no problem just, you know, saying that was a coward's act. You don't do that. Come on. You don't just shoot a person in the face.
Back of the head, actually.
You know, it just, you know, to me, it's just like, to me, I go, come on. And, you know, the 6-year-old.
I don't do that. I go,
this is-
damn you to hell, and I hope you suffer for the rest of your life.
You know, but the child is going to grow up. And there's this video out there on the damn internet. And so this child is going to learn about their own mother's last days by going on the web, stumbling on it.
No, somebody else is going to tell her about it.
Someone's going to tell her, you know.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing. This is why you bring the civil action. You do not let the legacy of this woman to be defined by this act. You say the legacy lives on. This is why you charge him criminally. You let a jury decide.
Well, you know, we did let a jury decide on Summer Taylor, and we lost. But did we lose because the jury said that she was not at fault? They were not at fault.
That's right.
Sorry.
She wasn't at fault.
They were not.
They were not at fault. No.
No.
No. No.
Well, we've had that happen in an inquest
That was
as well.
important.
Yeah.
That
it
was
was.
important.
I'm not saying that it's not important.
But yes. Well, the bottom line is our condolences to this family. We have no faith in the criminal system doing what's right here. The only choice and chance is through the civil system. Over and out.